God bless everyone out there, the internet world and radio land. This is Barry and Karen coming to you from Embrace Marriage Ministries with our Dare to Be Different podcast. And we thank God for you joining us on Twitch, Mixer, Periscope, and YouTube. And also, if you're listening to us on our website and also on Podbean, we thank God for you joining us. And on Spotify and all other places where this podcast can be found and listened to. BraceMarriageTogether.com. So we're here tonight. We're talking about this is the Passion Week, and we're going to be talking about our Lord and the sacrifice that He made. Bring up my chat so we can see some stuff.
Yes,
and
show up in the
where the chat at, huh? So one of the things we're going to talk about Sunday, we already talked about Palm Sunday. So we're going to be talking about the Monday after Palm Sunday, with Jesus, basically the events that took place during that time. And it's going to be, trying to see if I want to get I'll get a physical book. Hold on. I don't want to bring up all these programs. So we're going to look at it. Remember the scripture, so. All right. First off, like I said, we want to thank you for joining us and being with us on this journey together. And, well, like I say, if you're not familiar with, this is the time we call the Holy Week, which is the last 7 days of Christ. If you, before he went, last 7 days before he went through the crucifixion and the resurrection. And so what we want to share tonight is we want to share our thoughts on it, and just, tell you about the different days. And we actually started on Sunday. We started our Palm Sunday was Sunday, so we started then. We did a podcast on that. We may have to redo it. It was we realized that we weren't had any audio. We didn't know until like middle of the stream. So hopefully if it is recording and you can hear us, let us know. But one of the things, if not, well, like I say, we'll basically just redo it, and because we have audio version of it now, and that matches, because we didn't have one that matched it, not really matched. And so we had to really just kind of just work with it. I redid the whole thing on the second half of it, so you still get the lesson, just won't 30 minutes of you won't hear us. We be talking and you won't hear nothing said. But anyway, how are you, wife?
I'm doing good.
Get her to say something so I know it might work. Okay. One of the things, we're gonna get into it. Like I said, Palm Sunday was the day that Jesus actually which is also called the triumphal entry into Jerusalem. Came down from the Mount of Olives on a donkey. His disciples and all the people started to, and it was a time when it was pretty crowded, so everybody pretty much seen him coming, and they praised him with palm branches, and they laid him at the feet of the beast that he was on, and laid their garments so that he could ride on it. He was fulfilling a word that was in Zechariah 9:9, talking about, behold, your king comes on a donkey in the foal, or the coat of a donkey. And so he was fulfilling that word that God had spoken a long time ago that he was to fulfill. Now, Jesus goes in, takes a look around different things in the temple, goes back out to the Mount of Olives. He spent his time there. Well, a lot had transpired during that time, they wanted to take Jesus' life, because they were jealous of him, of course. The latter part of 11, they went and looking for him. But in 6 days before the Passover, which would have been Monday. So this would be Monday. It says here in John 12 is what I'll be reading from. John 12, and read down to read down to about read down to about 11. 1 through 11. 6 days were before the Passover. Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus was, whom Jesus had raised from the dead. So they gave a dinner for him there. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those reclining with him at table. Mary therefore took a pound of expensive ointment and made of pure nard, and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, he who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this ointment not sold for 300 denarii?" Which I found out was about $50.
What?
Sold for $50.
Wow.
And given to the poor.
Oh, really?
And $50. He's like, why you ain't selling for $50? Give it to the poor. Give it to the poor.
Oh,
$50 to the poor, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, he big spending. He said it's not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief and having charge of the money bag he used to help himself to what was put into it. He was stealing from his own master, stealing from the disciples, because he was the treasurer, stealing the money while he was putting it in it. So Jesus told around and said, Jesus said, "Let her alone, for she has kept it for the day of my burial. For the poor you always have with you, but you do not always have me." Now it says here later on, it said, when a large crowd of Jews learned that Jesus was there, they came, and not only on account of him, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests made plans to put Lazarus to death as well, because on account of many of the Jews were going away and believing in Jesus. Now, because they saw him sitting at table, a live man that had been dead for, say, Lazarus was dead for like 3-4 days. Now, here's the thing that they want him dead because he was a testimony. A lot of people want to kill you because of your testimony.
Right.
And so Jesus comes in. Now, in John's version of it, the triumphal entry actually came the next day. And so he actually found a young donkey and sat on it, as is written, "Fear not, daughter of Zion, behold your king coming, sitting on the donkey's coat." And the disciples did not understand these things, but first when Jesus was glorified, then they remembered these things that was written about him and had been done by him. So now, also the next day, he was sought out by some Greeks, which that's why we blend in Tuesday and Monday and Tuesday. Let me see if it was the same day or the next day. Looking for a next day statement. I think Luke's version of it too was let me see, Luke, because Luke had a version of it as well. Yeah, 19. Let's see, 20. Yeah, Luke had a whole different version of it. Well, let's go John. So I think John. So John 12 was basically after Jesus had raised Lazarus from the dead. So then he came to, he dealt with some Greeks that were coming after him, and then he gave some words concerning himself. Also, too, Mark gave a version of it, how that he had went after he had left from there, he came back the next day. And that's when he whipped everybody out the temple, saying how that my temple house should be called a house of prayer to all nations, but you have made it a den of thieves. So on Tuesday, which is the day, Jesus beat people out the temple. Now he was cleansing the temple. That was what he was.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of, well, like I said Sunday, a lot of people don't realize is that Jesus did this for a reason, because he was preparing. There were certain things that the Father wanted him to do before he left, and the first thing he did, he came into the scene to show who himself, fulfilling Scripture. Everything Jesus did fulfilling, because they noticed, one of them quoted Matthew said, "How the zeal of your house is heating me up," when he went and did what he did. So, a lot of people, we celebrate this time just to sum the whole thing up. To celebrate this time, not so that we can get Easter baskets, get Easter clothes, come and pack a church up on Sunday and say that we actually attended and gave God our service. Well, I gave God my service. Give me that bill. Let's get this barbecue started, and let's get this liquor, and there's more. Now, you notice there was more partying on Good Friday. Because to them, it's a Good Friday, because they go out there and they get their drink on, they go to the club, they get down all the hair stores and all the other places where they go get the club stuff. They're going to be packed on Friday.
Yeah.
Because they have Good Friday parties and all this other stuff.
Crawfish balls.
Because you can't, Now you know a lot of us what Catholic, we just doing it as an opportunity.
Yeah, crawfish balls, fish fries.
Yeah. We do all that. We miss the whole meaning as to why we even have this holiday. It is a memorial. It is a time that parallels a very, very important time of the year. And that's what I'm going to also talk about. We're talking about what they're celebrating the same time that we celebrating Easter. They're celebrating Passover. The Jews are. The Passover is a celebration for them because it is the day of their liberation from Egypt. And y'all know the story how that the Egyptians had enslaved the Israelites and made them to build all these great things that you see in Egypt. All the Israelites, blood, sweat, and tears, and death, had built all these wonderful and great places. So now when they got there, of course, Joseph was the first one to get there, bring his family there. They all got there. It was in Goshen. They ended up getting bigger and bigger. They grew so big that the Pharaoh there got scared. So he started killing all the males off and throwing them in the Nile. But except one person, the nurses that was having the babies were instructed that if it was a girl, keep it alive, and if it was a male, it was to kill it. They couldn't do it. They feared the Lord. So the Bible said that the more they grew, the more they were persecuted and afflicted, the more they multiplied. Right. So they would tell them, say, you were ordered to kill them. Why you never kill them? Say, because they come out and they would have the baby before we get there. And they're a little different from Egyptian women. That was their excuse. And they just kept a lot of men alive. So I guess Earl say, okay, we'll take that as an excuse, whatever. We'll go with that. So he was fearful. He's xenophobic. He feared these people. And over a course of time, he enslaved them and used them for his purpose. And they were praying for a deliverer. And God brought about one called Moses. Y'all know the story. Moses brought him out of Egypt after all these different things they went through. God brought him through the Red Sea, brought him into the wilderness, tried them for 40 years to make sure that they were ready to be the people that he called them to be. But there was 10 plagues that was sent. Y'all know, familiar with the 10 plagues. If you're not, then read your word. But the last plague was, God was trying to get Pharaoh's attention, and he got his attention a lot in 10 times. So the final plague was the death angel was going to pass through and kill off all the firstborn in Egypt. So the instruction for them was to do this, was to take a lamb for every house, and to kill it and to eat it. Don't boil it, just eat it, and with your clothes on and around your hand, and beat it with bitter herbs. Don't even try to dress it up or nothing, because you're going to be getting out of there. Take the blood that you got from the animal and smear it on the doorpost and on the threshold. And he said that, well, so when the death angel passes, when I see the blood, I will pass over you. So that's where they got the term Passover, because they were passed over. If the blood was applied to their house, they were passed over, and that was their deliverance. And then it wouldn't be their firstborn would die, because he was going through all of Egypt. Right. So the thing is, they celebrate, that's their liberation, that's their Independence Day. And they celebrating this time as independence. For us, is the same as it's our spiritual independence, because we're actually Jesus. If Jesus would have just been crucified on Good Friday and never got up on resurrection, first Sunday resurrection, then his crucifixion would have been a murder, not a sacrifice. Right. Because they would have murdered Jesus, and he would have died, and if he wouldn't have rose from the dead, it'd have been a murder, not a sacrifice. God intended for him to be the Passover lamb, because they actually did a ceremony for this. There was a whole week that they celebrate, like we do for the whole, we call the Catholic celebrate Holy Week. Yeah. They celebrate a whole week of this. That started Sunday. It started from the Sunday all the way up to Passover. They celebrate the whole deal. So they were in the middle of this when all this went down. They weren't sitting there just sitting around the house doing nothing and wait till Passover. They were actually, it was a week celebration. It was 7 days celebrated. And that was commanded to say for 7 days at that time, in a certain part of their year, which is like their maybe like 4 days into their year. Because their new year started, I think, on October, which was Rosh Hashanah. Then it's October, November, December, January, February, March. So it's like 6 months into their year. So in the middle of the year, they celebrate Passover. And so when you get into the middle of the Jewish year, they celebrate Passover, and they celebrate that whole 7 days. So now, when you get a whole celebration and you get people from everywhere. So Jews were all over the area regions, Galilee and Caesarea and Philippi and all these different places that they were the regions that these Romans had separated them in. They all came from everywhere in one place, Jerusalem. So Jerusalem was packed. Jerusalem was packed. So Jerusalem, when Jesus came into Jerusalem, it wasn't empty, it was packed. And it was not surprising for him to come in there and with a crowd. He would literally had to, if Jesus would have walked in there and they would have, it would have been it would have been like a concert. They'd been thick, because that's how many people was around. They were doing a lot of different things. They probably had booths and stuff up. They had different events going on. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, you go there right now, that's what they doing. They doing it up. I mean, that's because they are praising and thanking God for what he has done for them. And we should do the same. We should be thankful for the fact that God has brought us out of spiritual darkness into his marvelous light. Yes. How he has brought us into a place where we can have spiritual liberation from the things of this life, from the things that have bound us, from the things that have tried to destroy us, from the things that has tried to tear us down, and to bring us into the greatness of his power and the greatness of his grace, and to show us that he is liberated. Jesus came in Luke 4 and 18. He said, there was one particular time he went home. That was basically the core message of Jesus' ministry. If you want to admit Jesus' mission statement was Isaiah 61 and 1 and 2 and 3. This was his mission statement. Say he came up to read. Went to the synagogue as his custom was, and he came up to read, and as he found there's a passage in the book of Isaiah, and he read it. He said, "The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to bring liberty to the captives and recover the sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord." That was his mission statement. He said he closed the book and gave it to the attendant and sat down. And the eyes of everyone in the place was fixed on him. He said, "This day in your ears, this scripture is fulfilled." Now, let's say, why in the world are they looking at him all crazy? Well, the crazy part is, a lot of people don't realize this. They say that they thought he just sat back in the seat. Now, he didn't sit back in the seat. He sat in a seat that was designated for only the Messiah. He sat in the seat where he was supposed to sit. He sat in his seat. So the good thing about it, he made him reckon in a sense that way. He say this day is fulfilled in your hearing. Then they looking at him all strange because he was in the wrong spot. That's just like you are going and sitting in the pulpit and you not the preacher. They look at you funny. And that's exactly what he did. So a lot of people realize that, but he went, and I was studying that and say that's why I was looking at him strange.
Wow.
And it wasn't because of what he read, because they heard that every Sabbath. They heard that scripture was not unusual to them. They read that. The dude that was sitting in the building read that. The ruler of the synagogue read that. But they looked at this and they said, you know what? This is something's wrong with this man. Why is he thinking? Who is he think he is? So that's what made him almost get stoned. And so that was Jesus' mission statement. That's ours today. If we're in Christ, that's our mission statement. That's what we're to do. And that's what God wants us to do at this hour. Especially now, where things is going, we need Jesus more than anything. And if you have not accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, this is a good time to do it. You should give your life to him, and it's the best time to do it. During this time, when you get ready to go to this Easter Sunday that you go to each and every year, that is the perfect time for you to get with God and say, God, I've been doing this all my life, and I've been doing this every year. It's time for me to shut this down and do better.
Right.
I want to give my life to you and do it for you.
Yeah, and it shouldn't
just be
for no fashion show.
No.
So a lot of times Easter Sunday's a big old, we use this as a fashion show, our day to shine. Who gonna have on the best suit, who gonna have on the best dress, who gonna have on the baddest hat. And I can attest before I do any better. We try to have this little outdo contest and hunt and we be sharp, dressed to we be sharp, and it's not what that's not what that's all about.
Yeah. But
at one time in my life I was ignorant to the fact. I'm thinking, well, hey, it's my time to shine, so I'm gonna get me a bad dress.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have shoes, stockings, everything to match, and so I had to realize, hey, that's not what it's all about. For no bad suit and no clothes and who got the baddest hairstyle. So I had to
just raise it up a little bit.
So I had to come to
there you go.
oh yeah, I did sound like I was in a can. So I had to come to realize that it wasn't about that, because my focus was on, I had my kids was young and they was still in school, so I had to make sure they had the Easter dresses and the shoes and the socks, and they had to have the Easter basket, the little rabbits and decoration, all that. And that's all I wasn't thinking about no Christ, like he was saying earlier. That was just my time. Hey, this party time. Yeah. I wasn't thinking about no Christ, and we just knew it was a holiday. It was just an opportunity for us to just, hey, we didn't celebrate no Jesus, we celebrating something.
Mm-hmm.
But there wasn't no Calvary, it wasn't no cross, it wasn't no rising up and nothing.
No.
You know, we just use this as an opportunity.
Oh yeah, man. Talking about you Sunday.
Yeah, so we just use this as an opportunity to, hey, shoot, I'm gonna be, you know, we finna be dressed up, kids gonna be dressed up, we gonna be sharp as a tack. But I thank God that I learned
Yeah.
the true meaning of Easter and why that Christ came and why, you know, he gave his life. I don't want to get too much into the next lesson, you know, or going into that. So I just wanted to just kind of just share, you know, and kind of expound on what my husband was saying. Yeah, that should be the reason.
Yeah. It should be. The thing is that a lot of people, say back when I was church every Sunday, I avoided that Sunday. You know what? A lot of people, they have. I know when I was, and I went to, like I said, that was the time we went to church every Sunday like that, and we had said, well, you know, like she said, man, that was our time to shine. You know,
Yeah.
you see everybody, and that was really honestly, that was the only time a person would get a new suit. That, you know, man had that suit, that one suit, all that year, and he decided, okay, I'm gonna get a new suit on
Yeah,
Easter.
so, yeah.
He could have get one any other time, but Easter is the only time you think about a suit.
Yeah.
Or you think about or yesterday, if you're a person that's not a churchgoer, then you think about, well, hey, what I'm gonna wear when I go, because a lot of times it's this time of year, like now, it's the weather's decent, so we may have, like one year it was raining on Easter. They had trick or treat on the inside. I mean, not trick or treat, but you had Easter eggs hunts on the inside because it was rain. But the thing is that a lot of people, you know, have different traditions,
Right.
when it comes to that day. But as long as we don't forget the real reason as to why we even have that day,
Exactly.
that's what it's about.
Right.
So
Yeah, because like I say, I had to learn that. You know, I had to learn it wasn't about the, you know, the celebration. I had to realize that it was about Christ.
yeah,
You know, coming and giving his life, because that's all I would look forward to was just the, you know, the little festival part and, you know, dining Easter eggs with my kids and making little memories and doing all this stuff. And I had to realize, you know, we went to church. You know, I was just going to church. Hey, I want to show my bad dress. I done spent all this money on this hairstyle and sitting in this beauty salon for 3, 4, 5 hours trying to get my hair together. So, you know, and that was my, you know, and I wouldn't. But now I thank God that I do know better now. But going back.
Yeah, back then we didn't think about it like
no,
that.
Honey.
But that's a big time of the year too. When you if you're talking about as far as shopping time,
Oh yeah.
that should be, that's one of your biggest ones too. Is next to Mother's Day and Christmas, and that's a big shopping season. You get a lot of commercials with, oh yeah, let's watch these commercials, man. These commercials, they be advertising dresses and short sets and summer spring clothes basically. And then be advertising. You got people advertising cars and jewelry. I mean, for Easter, you know, they don't think about, well, maybe, you know, maybe we need to. They don't. It's now it's becoming an opportunity for to cash in. You know, because of the fact that a lot of people, okay, we know that you're going to need a dress. You know that you're going to have some clothes after you get out of church. Or if you go to church or you don't go to church, you're going to need some spring clothes. So we got it for you, you know, so they going to work that.
Right.
So, but the thing is like I said, if it wasn't for the fact that he rose, we wouldn't even have an Easter. And the only reason why we even have this holiday is because he did. Now, if he didn't, then we just have Good Friday, and that'd be it.
Right.
And just like I said, if Jesus would not have risen from the dead, his crucifixion would have been a murder and not a sacrifice.
Right.
So you have to remember that he did give himself for you so that you might be able to give yourself for him.
That's it.
And that's what it's about. So we have our plans is, like I say, we're going to do traditional stuff. You know, you have And it's a time for you to have family and friends.
Yeah, it
Because
is.
really, like I said, with the Passover week, that's what they did. They get with their families. They celebrate with families because that's where the Passover was celebrated. When it was originally done, it was a family, a lamb per family, and the families got together and they did that in, per family. So families will get together. You probably hadn't seen cousin Naheem from Jaime or whatever his name might be in a minute. He come from New York, the other guy come from somewhere else, and y'all get together out there and y'all celebrate Passover together and keep the traditions and the meals and the different things that happens. And his family and friends and fun and food, and definitely,
Yeah.
they appreciate and they celebrate what God has done for them
Yeah, and that's what it should be
as a
all
whole.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. If you're talking about, well, if we're going to celebrate, let's celebrate that fact. Let's celebrate the fact that he rose for my justification. He rose so that I might live. He gave his life so that I might give mine. So that if we're going to celebrate, let's celebrate for the real reason why we even have this holiday. It's good we can get off work for Good Friday, some of us anyway, because we ain't. It's good that they can, honor the fact that, that we can get off that day for work and so you say you got away from the institution church, started the fellowship with smaller ecclesias. Yeah. Say get a lot more out east after that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because more when you have a smaller group, community is a big thing with them. Because they gather together and they, you have your groups and you have your church and everybody's close, and then we go, look, we come out of a small church. And when we was in a small church, everybody knew everybody. Our kids knew each other. We basically was all like brothers and sisters, and it had its it has good times and it has bad times, and sometimes we rubbed each other the wrong way, but we never fell out to the point where we didn't want to talk to each other. It's just like any other family. And we still close to a lot of them today. We don't deal with them too much because we don't see them that much, And when we changed churches and went from a small church to a large church, and the large church we were in, they were pretty good. They was like them pretty much. They were all tight. They made a community, and it was communal, and that's the way it's supposed to be. All churches are supposed to be like that. You never gonna you shouldn't go into a church and disappear. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're just another face in the crowd. There should be a fellowship. It should be a fellowship. It should be a group, a community of people who have similar things going on in life. Because believe me, a lot of people are looking for the perfect church. Good luck. Because you're not gonna find one. I'm just gonna tell you. If you go into a place looking for mistakes, guess what? You're gonna find some. Because everyone's flawed and everyone makes mistakes and everyone is not perfect.
Right.
As long as they're doing what they're supposed to do, as far as preaching the word, as far as doing the work that God has called them to do, and doing it in His name and not in theirs. The little stuff that they do, as far as the little things that you might run into, because I know a lot of people run into, the reason why a lot of people are not in church is because of Christians. I hate to say it like that, but it's the truth. A lot of times the reason why people don't go to church is because of Christians. Because a lot of people run people out of churches because the simple fact is that they judge them based on what they see and not who they are.
Right.
Now, this is a Sunday that a lot of those people come back to church.
Right.
And that's an opportunity for every preacher, every pastor, every member of the church to win them and to reach them. Because if you can reach them and show them the love of God and the love of Christ, and let them know that, hey, regardless of what you're dealing with and what you're going through and who you are, God loves you.
Right.
And show them that love. You'll draw them and you'll have a member for life. They'll never leave, because they don't care what happened. The church will burn down, they'll stand in the middle of it. That's the kind of person you need. And say, we ain't leaving, because tell the roof fall in. That's just how they feel about it. And so, but then it's so much opportunity for people to just go wherever. Because number one, they don't want to submit to authority. Number two, they feel like they're looking for the quote unquote perfect church. If you are, you might as well go to heaven because that's the only place that's perfect. Because as long as it's sitting on this ground, it's not. And as long as you got human beings in it, it's not. Because all of us are there for one reason, to be perfected.
Right.
Not perfected as for being perfect, but being matured. We're there to get some help. All of us in the same boat, from the preacher down. We all need help. So we're if you go in there with that mindset, it will be a whole lot different than you just going in with a mindset of looking for something wrong or looking for perfection. So that's my soapbox moment for today. I don't know why I started that, but maybe that's what needs to be said. And I hope that when somebody sees this later on, that or hear this podcast later on, because heaven is the only place that isn't seeker sensitive. You show right, boy. You need to tweet that one, Ellen King. Heaven is the only place that isn't seeker sensitive. The only place you'll hear only the truth and the word. Yeah, it's only seeker sensitive churches. You know, I'm gonna teach a lesson on that because you have people who go to churches for all different types of reasons. And like I say, and the reason why we connect Eastwood Church is, like I say, the only time a lot of people do go is 3 times a year. Is Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. I call them CME Christians. Yeah, so Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. That's the only times you see them. Right. And you won't see them no other time. Or, you know, if you have some kind of event that they can hide in, then they'll come for that, you know. Yeah. But as far as a major Sunday event, that's the only 3 times you'll see them. And so if you can get them, and that's what, as being pastors, when we were pastors before, we knew that. We say, hey, this is the time that we can reach them and really capture them, those that are coming, because a lot of those people come, they just visiting. You know, they're coming from out of town, or they come with their relative, and they brought them and say, hey, come to my church. Yeah. You gonna come to church with me? You gonna come to church? You gonna come to church? You come into church, you brought your suit? Did you bring your suit? Did you got the dress? Well, let's go to the store and get a dress. You ain't got no dress. Well, we gonna go get you a dress. You ain't got no gang. Well, hold on, Billy. You ain't got no dress, no suit. That woman ain't got no dress. That'll be going on. They want you to come. So you get the.
Yeah, that's true. Cause that's when family. You know, not time during the holidays.
A lot of times they'll come together.
That's when family come together anyway. It's you know, Mother's Day, Christmas, Easter, whatever. That's when they come together.
Or christenings.
So that's so that
you get a christening, get a group in a christening, and if they don't walk out, you can get them.
So that's the best time. Hey, invite them.
Invite them.
Hey, they coming over for Easter Sunday.
Come.
Guess what?
We going to church. Yeah. And but like I said, one of the things that we're aiming for is, like I said, we're praying that God, because we're transitioning from one church to another. And we don't want to go backwards. We're going forward. So we're trying to go into another type of church where we can be pretty much more useful there. Not just sit down. We was in ministry for a while, and we never went in there and sat down. When I got there, I found something to do. And so we got this one, we didn't do much. And so of course we got bored with it. But we did try to, we tried to get involved and try to find our place. And but the thing is, this time I made a decision. I said, well, wherever I go, I said, I'm getting involved, whether I join or not. I said, because I want to be more active. I've been used to that, and I want to get back to that. And we need to be, because people need help, and we need to be available for people. So that's what this is about. This is about us reaching people. And so that's what we're here for, and that's why we have our website, EmbraceAmarriageTogether.com, where you can go. See how I segued into that? Where you can go check out the different platforms where we're at, where you can see, listen at this podcast not only on Podbean, but you can also listen to it on Spotify and Google Play. And you can also look at the video on YouTube, so you can go there and check out those platforms. We pushing that because we just bought our domain, so we think we're real happy about that. So we just thank God. We gonna bring it to a close too. We thank God for Alien King coming through, man. I know that you, I know you've been streaming a pretty good bit, and you always come through and show your face, and I appreciate that. Hope nobody don't pop through by the time we get ready to go, because sometimes it happens. We get ready to shut it down. Boy, Cooper come over about 20 people. You know, one time we did that. While I come in there, he streams by the time that I get done, and so we tried to kind of parallel his stuff. And Cooper will come in, and man, the next thing you know, bunga dunga, the little thing will go off. It'll be by him hosting me for about 20 people. You know, I mean, come on, man, I'm about to go. I'm about to go. They come flying in there and everything, and I said, well, I thank God. But they gonna miss us tonight because we tired. So yeah. We started late, and like I said, I want to start earlier so we can do it. But I wanted to cover these 2 days and talk about basically this, and we're gonna go into, I think the next one will be the cursing of the fig tree. We're gonna talk about again the temple cleansing and the other events that happened during this time coming up to, because tomorrow is Wednesday, so we're gonna talk about Wednesday, what happened on that day. Then Thursday, getting close to the Passover supper. With which we're talking about Wednesday. Thursday is the time during his just before he had to go to Gethsemane, which is Gethsemane and all that is combined because they celebrated that night, the last supper before Passover. So Thursday is going to be real full because it's betrayal, it's the Last Supper, it is the different things going on at that time. This when everything starts to really, really, really get tense. So stay tuned for that. So we thank God again for each and every one of you. Check us out on embracemarriagetogether.com. Check us out on these different platforms. We got links to different ones. You can check us out on these. And listen to this podcast also on Spotify. You can go there and check it out under Embrace Marriage Together. Dare to be different. So we thank God for you joining us. Thank God for Alien King. We'll give him a shootout. I hadn't used my shout out command in a while, so I guess I go ahead and that wasn't what I wanted to do. All right, hold on. I still gotta get used to this keyboard. And I bought this keyboard and don't type enough on it. So what you streaming lately, Alien King, while I'm doing this? 1970. And I think that's it. Hope I spelled everything right. Let's see. There he is. Y'all hit him up. Hit him with a follow. Let him know what you think. For those that are listening to this, or you're doing Odyssey DLC, Alien vs. Predator Halo. No problem, man. For those that are listening to this, you can go follow him on www.twitch.tv/Alien King 1970. That's twitch.tv/Alien King 1970. Follow him there. Check him out. And all those that are joining us, like I said, just we're going to be on tomorrow. If we don't be on tomorrow, we're going to cover 2 days. So we'll cover Wednesday and Thursday for sure. We're gonna definitely be Thursday because I want to do this Last Supper and Passover thing. We'll be coming out, John, for that too. All right. Well, anything, last words, babe, before we go?
Yes. And I would like to thank all those that are watching, lurking, or whatever you may be doing, and that might be even going to watch it later. I would like to say embrace God, embrace marriage, embrace love, embrace one another, and dare to be different.
All right. God bless y'all. We'll see y'all on the next.
Good night.